The following is a production of Stevenson Media. H-Town, what it do? I am the self-appointed president of Houston Sports Nation. The man over here is this way. I forgot you're on the other side. The man to my right is Mr. 713, Ruben Calvillo. Welcome to episode number 47 of the Twin Toros Podcast. I almost lost track, man. You got any Houston Texans 47?
47? I don't know. I don't know.
We had like maybe a fullback or something, man, but I can't think. I forgot to chat GPT it today.
Let me see.
So if you want to give it a quick search up. But shout out to all of you who are joining us here on ESPN's YouTube channel, ESPN Houston. Shout out to Ruben. Please follow him at 713 Houston Sports, 713 Houston Sports on X, IG, TikTok. Just type it up, man. You'll find him. But I am going to leave all his links in the description as well. And Houston Sports State of the Union podcast is where you can find me on YouTube, X, TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe, please, to thedreamshake.com. That's where all my Houston Rockets coverage comes from. I will leave all of these links in the show notes of this video. But thank you so much for joining us on this 47th episode of the Twin Toros Podcast. Who you got, Ruben?
Yeah, we got Houston Texans legend Andrew Beck.
That's right. I forgot about Andrew Beck.
His great moment just 2 years ago against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes. A 74-yard kickoff return where he initially fumbled it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that game is always going to hold near and dear in my heart because that was the first signing of C.J. Stroud showing you that he could potentially be something in this league. So, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The Andrew Beck episode.
Andrew Beck episode. Shout out. I love it. All right, man. Lock it in. All right, man. So, it's the offseason. We've gone through the draft. We've gone through schedule release, man. So, we're trying to figure out some ways to keep the Houston Texans fans satisfied with their Houston Texans content. I think this organization came into existence back in 2002. You know what I did the other day, Ruben? You know the entire Houston Texans first game versus the Dallas Cowboys is actually on YouTube from beginning to end.
Yes, I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah. So I decided, man, for old time's sake, man, let me go and watch the very first game in Houston Texans history. The only franchise to win their very first game as an expansion franchise. So that's one thing that Houston Texans fans can always be proud of, and it's something we can always clown Cowboys fans about. But it just got me to thinking, man, like I can't believe that was now 23 years ago. Makes me feel old.
I'm getting old.
It makes me feel old. But at the same time, man, this franchise has been around long enough that we can now start having a discussion, about who some of the all-time greats in this franchise were. So I thought it would be fun, and you agreed, if you and I put our heads together and we came up with an all-time Houston Texans team. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do, I'm going to let your man 713, Ruben Calvillo, he is going to give you guys his version of the all-time Texans offense, and I will be sharing with you my version of the all-time Texans defense. And I'm sure there's going to be some that are layups, but I'm sure there's going to be some debatable in this as well. So let's go ahead and get started, bro. I'm looking forward to the discussion, man. I want to know I'm going to give you the privilege of picking the very first all-time Houston Texan. What position you going with? What player?
Let's start with quarterback.
Okay.
And let's start with
interesting.
This one's obvious. It's C.J. Stroud. It is your only offensive rookie of the year in franchise history. It is a man who was coming off of back-to-back 10-win seasons, back-to-back division championships, and back-to-back dominant performances at home. C.J. Stroud, even though he is very young in his NFL career, I can honestly say he is the best Texans quarterback in franchise history. I could understand some Matt Schaub love, but to me, it's no comparison.
All-time leader in yards, touchdowns. It'd be different. Listen, man, I think we have this conversation in 5 years. C.J. Stroud will be the
We're having it now.
I
Yeah.
understand that. I think in 5 years, CJ Stroud will be the answer. Or not, let me take that back. 5 years into his career. So 3 years from now, we have this discussion. CJ Stroud is obviously going to be the answer, barring injury, and let's knock on all kinds of wood. Whatever wood is around you, knock on it now. I think as we have this discussion today, you have to give the nod to the very solid quarterback. I'm not going to call him great, but we just haven't had great quarterbacks in this franchise history so far. But Matt Schaub, at this moment, is still the best quarterback in the franchise
Ooh,
history.
I think that's a hot take. Let's bring up the stats here.
No, you can
One,
go
2,
for it.
3,
His
4,
his
5, 6,
2011 before he
7 seasons in Houston, a
Mhm.
two-time Pro Bowler. Is CJ a two-time Pro Bowler? He might be.
Yes, he is.
Wow. Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he made it. He was an
Alright.
alternate last year,
He
right?
was alternate.
Yeah, but
Um,
he got voted in the year
that
before.
2011 year, no, I'm sorry, that 2009 year,
Yeah, yeah.
4,770
2009.
yards, 29 touchdowns, 15 INTs, just absolutely, um, a fantastic year for, for Matt Shaw, but I do think CJ Stroud protected the ball a little bit better. I think he only threw 5 interceptions in year 1.
For sure.
Look, we're comparing, we're talking in this sense, we're comparing two goats here. So I can go
Yeah,
either way,
yeah.
but
But you know CJ Stroud's the future, and he's going to be better than
mhm.
he will eventually be this franchise's leader in passing yards, touchdowns, all of that. Like I said, barring injury, and let's keep knocking on
And
wood.
CJ Stroud already, is already up there in terms of, franchise playoff wins. So, I'm taking all that into consideration. So I could understand Matt Schaub, but I'm going CJ.
Okay.
And you know what? I think the conversation is a little bit closer than you think.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I just like I said, that's why I said give a couple more years. The obvious answer is going to be CJ Stroud. As we have this conversation today, I wouldn't have been mad at you if you said Matt Schaub.
Mhm.
I'm going to go ahead and go with the quarterback of the defense. Then let me ask you this: should I be having the Texans run a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense? Because I
What do you
debated this myself. Uh, I think their most successful defense, besides the defense that they've had under uh, D'Amico Ryans the last couple of years, was under um, Wade. I'm
Wade
doing the name
Phillips?
thing again. Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips 3-4 defense.
Mhm.
So I kind of thought maybe I'll go ahead and do a 3-4 defense because it'll give me a little bit more. We've had some great pass rushers on this team, and I don't think we've had a great defensive tackles. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with a 3-4 defense. But let me start with my captain and my quarterback of the defense, the middle linebacker. It's obviously the Houston Texans' current head coach, D'Amico Ryans.
Mm.
I don't think the Texans have another middle linebacker that honestly even comes close to him. Um, I'm gonna get into a debate with you about another, but how do you feel about D'Amico Ryans being the number one pick for the all-time Houston Texans defense?
I don't know. I think you're leaving out Brian Cushion, man. I
Brian Cushing
think
is the most overrated Houston Texan of all time.
what?
Brian Cushing is the most overrated Houston Texan of all time.
How so?
Like, personally, like his H-Town swag, love it, love the energy. We all know headbutting with his helmet off, his intensity. But look at his statistics, bro. Like he had a really good rookie year. He was injured a lot. We know he was on the juice. He
Mhm.
just was not, and I will give you this. He gives all the praise in the world to D'Amico Ryans for the success that he ended up having as a linebacker because once D'Amico Ryans left, he kind of handed the reins over to Brian Cushing. I'm probably gonna put Brian Cushing next because I'm doing two middle
That's
linebackers
perfect.
since I'm
That's
doing the
perfect.
2-4
That's
defense.
perfect. That's perfect.
Oh, but I got D'Amico Ryans, obviously the number one linebacker in the history of this franchise.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't. The only
Yeah,
part I argued with you about was that when you said there was no one close. So, I think
yeah,
the
yeah. Yeah.
fact that Brian Cushing, he spent more years in Houston. He only was in Houston.
True.
He had a fantastic year one, a Pro Bowler. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, I think Brian Cushing as your LB2 and D'Amico Ryans
Yeah.
as
So
your
running the
LB1.
3-4 defense, they're probably together.
That's nasty.
And you could occasionally put him on the outside as in a pass rush situation in a 3-4 defense too, which not mad at. But that's who I got for middle linebacker. Or I guess since we're doing a 3-4, I'll just give you my 2 middle linebackers. D'Amico Ryans and Brian Cushing. I think those are kind of layups, bro. Is there anybody who's even close, man?
Bernardrick McKinney, who was a Pro Bowler.
Okay.
Pro Bowler, but not to where you
He
can
only had
put
a
him
cup of
over.
coffee here, though. Yeah, I wouldn't put. How do you feel? I
Zach
mean,
Cunningham was a Pro Bowler.
who's that?
Zach Cunningham?
Did he make a Pro Bowl? Zach Cunningham was disappointing to me, bro. I was
what?
His overall tenure here was disappointing to me.
He was was he not a Pro Bowl linebacker for you?
We had a few Pro Bowlers,
He wasn't
man.
a Pro Bowl. 1, 2,
I don't think he made a Pro Bowl though, but
he spent 4 or 5 years here. He started like immediately as a rookie.
Yeah, I don't put him on the level of D'Amico Ryan.
Oh no. Fair.
Yeah, not at all. All right, man. So let me get since I did 2 players, I guess give me your running back and your fullback. Are you gonna run a fullback? You don't have to.
I could go fullback.
Okay.
I'll give you some
We've had some
Vontae
good
Leach
ones.
love. Shout out to Vontae Leach. Is probably one of the greatest fullbacks ever in the NFL. You could argue that he was the last fullback in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true fullback for sure.
He is there all time for me. Running back, it's no question. It's number 23. Yeah. It's not a mistake. It's the undrafted guy out of Tennessee. It's Arian Foster. Your RB2. Now, this is where it gets fun. Lamar Miller was a Pro Bowler. Steve Sladen had a fantastic year 1. As an RB, Ben Tate had a fantastic first couple of years.
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde had a great 1 year too. RB2 is fun to talk about, but RB1, it's Arian Foster,
absolutely
23 all day.
Yeah, and I'm ready. I don't think we've had some nice running backs on this team. I don't think there's anybody who we can put in the same discussion as Arian Foster. Arian Foster was special, bro.
Special.
Like to this day, when you watch
RB2, Joe Mixon, easy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's it. And he's only been here for 2 years, but I would definitely put Joe Mixon there. I was thinking that myself. So, yeah. So you got Arian Foster, obvious number 1. RB2, you're going to go with Joe Mixon. And then Vontae Leach at fullback. And shout out to, I guess, who's the second best fullback we've had? James Casey, maybe?
Is Andrew Beck? Yeah, James Casey was fired.
Yeah. Andrew Beck has probably the greatest special teams play in franchise history.
Yeah, it has to be.
Hands down. I can't think of much better, for sure. All right. Where should I go? I want to start some controversy.
Yeah, let me hear your safeties.
Okay, that's fair. Safety, I have Danielle Manning. Quiet so far. Okay. My other safety, man, and I had to really think about this. Like, I know that sometimes the Texans move guys around. No, I'm going to put him as a cornerback. So my other safety, man, was going to be Glover Quinn.
That's fair.
We haven't had. Look, man, Ed Reed was terrible here. He should have been on this list. He came here. He was awful. Absolutely terrible. He robbed the Houston Texans, and that's why Houston robbed him back. I'm not advocating for for any type of criminal activity, but I'm just saying
that's
nobody was mad.
That's if you know, you know. They robbed him. They did. They broke into his car and took ours. Nick, you're horrible. You're horrible.
I mean, there haven't been a whole lot of great safeties. I have Aaron Glenn on my list, but
Aaron Glenn was good. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu had a good 1 year.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn was a cornerback though.
Sean Gibson had a nice couple of seasons.
But Glover Quinn had the most consistent success for me.
What about Andre
of
Hall?
all of those? Who?
What about Andre Hall?
Dude, I barely remember the Andre.
You don't remember the pick machine?
I can't put him on the all-time list, man. I'm gonna have to go with Glover Quinn and Danielle Manning for our team.
Hold on, because this is where I'm gonna give you some pushback because
okay. Do you consider Aaron Glenn a safety or a corner?
Corner.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I know he played some they moved him around on that Dom Capers defense, but he's a corner.
Let me see. How many years was Daniel Manning a Texan? He was
Only
a
like
Texan
3,
4 years.
3 or 4, yeah.
Okay.
The reason I put Daniel Manning, because when the Texans got Daniel Manning and Jonathan Joseph, and that was around the same time that they brought in Wade Phillips, they changed the culture of this team forever. And that's the first team that ever went to the playoffs. The Texans were soft defensively before that, and they had a run of not very good defensive coordinators, and Wade Phillips came here and changed everything. And Daniel Manning and
Okay.
Jonathan Joseph were a part of it.
Now, question in regards to Glover Quinn, he didn't become an All-Pro until he left Houston.
He was very good here, though. I mean, if you can give me, listen, man,
I'll give you Glover Quinn.
I considered putting Jalen Petrie there, but Jalen Petrie's more of a nickel corner.
But Daniel Manning was only good for like 2 years, bro.
But we haven't had great safeties, man. Like who you
Kalen Bullock had a fantastic year at safety.
I know, but he's 2-year player, man. That's what I'm saying. And
yeah,
we are on the verge. Yeah, like
it's because we're so young, bro. So
yeah, it's gonna be the same thing that I said about CJ. We do this same podcast in 2 years. I think Kalen Bullock, if stays on track with what he's doing, is gonna be the obvious answer for that. And hopefully, we're gonna be talking about a lot of these young guys. I might already have one of these young guys that are on the team now on my all-time
for
team.
sure.
We're gonna have to debate it.
And I know exactly who you're talking about. That's Derek Stingley. Yeah.
Yeah, but I gave you my safeties though. Are you
good.
okay?
I can't argue. I can't argue with. I can't argue with.
I don't know who you would put over those.
Yeah, I can't argue with those.
Yeah, Quentin Demps. No,
I was just about to say shout out Quentin Demps, and but all his interceptions came against the Jaguars.
He was solid, but honestly, who was playing next to him? Daniel Manning. Daniel Manning was the consistency, man. So
Bernard Pollard
was good for a soundbite. Overrated player, but I like Bernard Pollard. Don't get me wrong. When he was with the Chiefs and he was twerking on when he was with the Chiefs and he was twerking on Hard Knocks, I thought that was funny. And I'm like, shout out to a man who's not afraid to twerk on TV.
Shout out to DJ Swearinger.
I didn't like DJ Swearinger.
Jungle Boy swag.
I mean, DJ Swearinger, he had the swag.
Dude, he left and became a Pro Bowler.
He went to the Broncos, man.
No,
the Broncos,
no. He went to Washington.
And then he went to the Broncos later, right?
Let me see. I don't think he went to.
Bro, our whole team went to the Broncos and won.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah.
Our whole team and coaching staff went to the Broncos and won a Super Bowl.
No. He didn't go to the Broncos, but he was a Pro Bowl.
I remember he went to Washington. Okay.
Yeah, he was a Pro Bowl alternate for them, man. And look, and check this out. In 3 years, 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions, 4 interceptions. Like, and it's crazy that Bill Bryan cut this dude all because he didn't want to play special teams. So,
yeah. Well, Bill O'Brien will not be on this list. We'll just put it to you that way.
All right. Offense, wide receivers.
Wide receivers. This is obvious.
The first 3 are obvious. It's Andre Johnson. It's DeAndre Hopkins. And I can now say it's Nico Collins. Nico Collins in the last 2 years has shown us he is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. When healthy. And I hate that I have to say that, because if he is healthy, I wonder if he creeps into number 2. I wonder, he's not even going to touch Andre, but I wonder if he creeps up to DeAndre. But with DeAndre, how many years were we saying this might be the best wide receiver in the league? It doesn't matter who's throwing to him. Yeah. When Nico Collins, he's making a case, and if he has another, look, it's going to take a while for Nico Collins to get there, because DeAndre, I believe he's been an All-Pro also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he has.
So, Nico has a way to go. He's on the right track, but I think he has earned your number 3 spot.
I don't disagree with that. You want to hear my hot take, though?
What?
If DeAndre Hopkins had stayed a Houston Texan, he would already be the greatest Houston Texans receiver in franchise history.
Can you imagine he would have had a crazy year with CJ?
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins is going to the Hall of Fame, bro. He's gonna go. And I'm mad
You
because
think he's gonna go in as a Texan?
he still has the most tenure here, and he's played for a bunch of other teams in between. So it'd be hard for me to imagine him going into somewhere else. It depends.
He's a Raven now, right?
I think so.
That sounds right.
I gotta check that out. But he should have been a Houston Texan until he retired. And if he had been, he would have been the Texans' greatest receiver of all time, surpassing. And I love Andre Johnson, but check out the numbers, bro. He's already passed him in touchdowns. He's damn near passed him in yards. I mean, he's as good right now, and with a couple more years, could be better, at least statistically, man. And here's the thing. There's a lot of reasons we can say Andre didn't get into the end zone. I'm not going to say it was Andre's fault. A lot of times it was play calling when you got into the red zone. He played for coaches who wanted to run the ball.
Arian Foster.
Yeah, exactly. Coaches who refused to throw the fade route for some reason. I mean, I know that's not an efficient way to try to score, but if you got Andre Johnson on your team, it becomes efficient. You know what I mean? But DeAndre Hopkins was that dude, and he scored the touchdowns to go along with the yards and the catches. So, but since he is not in a Houston Texans uniform for the entirety of his career, I think that nod obviously still has to go to the great one, Andre Johnson.
Fair.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Nico Collins, who would be the third?
I don't know, because is it
We just
Kevin
had a bunch of
Walter?
guys. Kevin Walter was a nice player. They tried to convince us he was a wide receiver too the entire time he was here.
He
And
had
we
a,
knew he wasn't.
he had an 800-yard a year.
Nah, he was solid, bro. He caught the biggest touchdown in franchise history that, won their very first division for them. So shout out to Kevin Walter. He's in the conversation, but I would put Nico ahead of him already. And Nico had 2 bad years his first 2 seasons. I mean, he was all practice squad his first 2 years here. So, but he's already, I would say, surpassed Kevin Walter just in what he's accomplished in the last couple of seasons. All right, man. Let's get some controversy. Let me go cornerbacks. Obviously, Derek Stingley. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Joseph.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm giving him the respect for his career, but he was good as a Texan.
Bradley Roby.
What's that?
Bradley Roby.
Bradley Roby was not. No, I'm giving Aaron Glenn the nod, bro.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I think Aaron Glenn was still a good player when he played here. And so I say we'll put Derek Stingley, Aaron Glenn on the outside, and we'll put Jonathan Joseph at the nickel. Is that fair?
You're gonna put Jonathan Joseph at the nickel? He was the outside corner his entire career.
Yeah, but we're for the sake of this team, like I got to put the 3 best corners in.
I mean, do you think Aaron Glenn was a better outside corner than Jonathan Joseph?
In his career, yes. For the Texans, no.
Okay.
Jonathan Joseph,
Pro Bowler. Come on now.
Yeah, but isn't Aaron Glenn's in the Hall of Fame? Right? Is Aaron Glenn in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. Let me see.
I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
He might be one of those borderline players.
So Aaron Glenn played. Damn, he played a lot of years in. Well, Aaron Glenn was a Pro Bowler with us. 5 INTs. In his
Aaron Glenn was good here. He's got to be on the list.
5 INTs in his first year in Houston.
Yeah.
1 INT his second year in Houston. 5 INT his last year in Houston.
He's good.
And then he went to Dallas for 2 years, then Jacksonville, then then the Saints. But I'm just, we're comparing.
I thought he finished here. He didn't finish here.
No, we're comparing.
He played a long ass time.
We're comparing 3 years to 9. So
yeah, but he's on the list. I gotta put him ahead. I gotta put him ahead of Kareem Jackson. I love Kareem Jackson. Kareem Jackson, look, for what he was as a rookie and how everybody hated him and what he became as a Houston Texan, you got to give him honorable mention. But I'm not going to put him on the all-time list. All right. So you got your receivers in. Where you want to go next?
Let's go tight end. It's obvious. It's OD.
For sure.
It's no question. This dude was just dynamic. Shannon Sharp at one point called Owen Daniels the best tight end in NFL. OD dude was just, when I was a kid, I used to do his touchdown celebration where he would cook on the stove and feed it. So,
He caught everything, bro.
I got a lot of love. I'm happy that he I think he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. No, he won one in Denver with Peyton, and then I think he won another one with Baltimore. But
did he?
I could be wrong.
I don't remember him winning with Baltimore. I mean, he might have played there, but I don't think he was there when they won the Super Bowl. You're thinking of Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He has one. He was he is selected. He's won one. Yeah, he's won one Super Bowl.
Yeah, he won with Denver. Like I said, our whole team went to Denver and won the
Our
Super
whole
Bowl.
staff
Pissed me off, man. Yeah, I think that's the obvious answer too. I don't even know who I would put second, man.
Billy Miller, first tight end. I mean, first tight end to catch a touchdown.
Yeah.
I could understand some CJ Fedorowicz love.
Just not enough production, man.
Yeah, no production. So yeah,
OG is the obvious answer for that.
easily OD. But when we get to the offensive line, it's kind of obvious, but there is there's some debate. But your turn.
Yeah, for sure. Let me go with outside linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
This one's tough. For the sake of this, because that's not fair. Mario Williams played outside linebacker for 5 games, and then he injured himself. But in that 5 games, he was awesome, and the Texans' defense was awesome. But to make room for my others on the defensive line, I'm gonna go ahead and say Mario Williams, Connor Barwin for the outside linebackers.
What about your D's?
Who?
Your defensive ends.
All right, the defensive ends, obvious. JJ Watt. We're doing 2 ends, right? It's gonna be JJ Watt. And honestly, my man, he's only been a Houston Texans for 2 years. But I gotta put my man Will Anderson Jr. there already, dude.
Okay, and your outside linebackers were who? Mario and Connor Barwin. Yeah, Connor Barwin should not even be on the list.
What?
What about your Davion Clowney?
No, I put Barwin over Clowney.
You're
in the Texans uniform? Look it up.
Dude, you're smoking crack. Come on, brother. All right, let's go. Let's go. Connor Barwin. Let's bring up the stats. Connor Barwin. And it's not that he's bad.
And Jadeveon Clowney.
So he spent he's
played DN for us.
He spent no, Clowney did not play defensive end. He was an outside linebacker for us. Come on now.
Oh, we did run a 3-4. We did run a 3-4.
So Connor Barwin's best year sack-wise.
16?
11 and a half.
Oh, it was 11 and a half.
Good.
That was in 11?
2011.
Yeah.
Outside of
I
that,
think he got 16 one year.
no, he had 14 in Philly. So other than that, he has a year with 0 sacks, a year with 3, and a year with 4.5. So 2011 was his best year. Okay. So Jadeveon Clowney was a 3-time Pro Bowler for the Houston Texans as an outside linebacker.
Okay.
So he maybe didn't have the best season.
Did he get
11 and a half sacks? But he had 28. So let's go 2015, 4.5, 2016, 6, 2017, 9.5.
He only got double digits once, right?
9, yeah. So no, he never got double digits.
Okay.
So he flirted with 10 the last 2 years, but I would put Jadeveon Clowney over Connor Barwin any day of the week. Any
All right,
day.
What about Whitney Merciless?
I'll put him over Mario Williams.
Okay, so you have.
Look, I love Mario, but let's be honest. We don't know him for being a Houston Texan. We know him for being a Buffalo Bill.
Mario Williams did most of his damage for the Texans at the end. And I think a lot of people, first of all, that was the right pick over Reggie Bush and over Vince Young. I think that can be laid to rest. But still, people wanted him to be Bruce Smith, bro. They wanted him to be getting double-digit sacks every year, getting close to 20s. They wanted him to be what J.J. Watt ended up being. And he just wasn't. And I don't think I can make an all-time Texans team without having Mario Williams on it, though. I just don't. Like, he was a good Houston Texan. And it goes to show that there are still some positions on this team in the history of this team.
So put him over Will
that are lacking. Man, but Will, bro. Okay. I'll put him. My DNs
because outside linebacker is crazy.
Okay,
You know,
you're right. Like I
then we
said, he
could
only played
put
outside linebacker for 5 games.
Will at outside linebacker, and we could put him over Whitney Merciless and put him over I don't know.
No. We'll just have to
Whitney
take
deserves his respect.
we'll have to take Will off the list. So
Okay,
let's go D ends, JJ Watt,
Mario.
Mario
Okay,
Williams.
outside linebackers,
Outside
Jadeveon
linebacker,
Clowney.
you're gonna go with Clowney?
How can you not go with Clowney, dude?
Okay.
How can you not go with Clowney
We'll do Clowney
and Connor Barwin?
and Connor Barwin or Whitney Merciless?
Okay, hold on. Let's see who had more. This is fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many double-digit sacks did Whitney Merciless have? Whitney Merciless, yeah. How can we not do? Whitney played 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Whitney Merciless had a
He
couple of
played
really
10
good years, though.
years in Houston.
Yes, and he
Well,
had a couple of
listen,
really
he
good
only
years.
had one double-digit sack year, but it was 12.
Yeah,
But
but
look
if
at
you
the
remember, Whitney
production.
Merciless was that guy who
But look at the production. As soon as he came in the league,
yeah.
6 sacks, 7 sacks, 5 sacks, 12 sacks, 7.5, 1, 4, 7.5. Remember his last really good year was the year where we had New Orleans in week 1 over there.
Mhm.
I think he had 5 sacks and like 2 interceptions in the first 5 weeks of the season. So yeah, so we'll have Whitney Merciless and Jadeveon Clowney as your
Okay.
2 starting outside linebackers, and Mario Williams and JJ Watt as your 2
So
ends.
we'll give Connor Barwin the honorable mention then.
Yeah, you get on the sideline.
That's cool. All right, I'm with it. Man, I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be doing the defense, but I agree with you. That's why I wanted to have the debate because you're right. Whitney Merciless, and if you'll recall, he was one of those players that the coaching staff always talked about the impact he had on the games that were not showing up in the stat sheet.
Mm.
And a lot of times if you watch anybody break down film, they'd say the same thing. So yeah, Whitney Merciless for longevity and for the production he did on the team. And he was a genuinely nice guy. We'll put him on the all-time Texans team. All right, man. Where are you going on offense now? The O-line?
O-line's fun because
Yeah.
is it Dwayne Brown or is it Laramie Tunsil?
Play Dwayne Brown at right tackle.
You don't think Aaron Winston deserves his love at right tackle?
Eric Winston?
Yeah.
Good right tackle for this team on probably the best
Dwayne Brown's
offensive
never
line.
played. Dwayne Brown's never played right tackle.
I know, but just for the sake of if we can move people around. If you're gonna say, listen, I'll give Dwayne Brown and Eric
No,
Winston this.
because
They were the
we
tackles on the best offensive line this team's ever had.
I'm gonna go Laramie at left tackle
Okay.
over Dwayne Brown.
Okay. And
I'm
you're not putting
going
Dwayne on the line at all?
Huh?
You're not
No.
gonna put Dwayne on the line at all?
I'm going Eric Winston at right tackle.
I'd put Dwayne there, but I
At
get you.
center, I'm going Chris Myers,
Of
Pro
course.
Bowler. At guard, Wade Smith, Pro Bowler. Now your other guards, it's interesting. Is it Brandon Brooks? But we know he didn't become a All-Pro until he left
Right.
the city of Houston, but he was showing promise. Or are you going to give it to someone who, didn't really get the accolades, but was a part of one of the best Houston Texan offensive lines, and that was Mike Brizell.
That's who I give it to.
So I'll go ahead and give it to Mike Brizell. So that's my offensive line. So pretty much the same offensive line, just put in Laramie Tunsil at left tackle.
That team that should have won a Super Bowl with that offensive line. And, when I brought up Matt Schaub 2011, that was the year he got hurt. I think the Texans had a really good shot of winning the Super Bowl that year. They would have had to beat prime time Aaron Rodgers, so that would have been difficult. But if they would have kept that O-line together, that championship window would have stayed open longer than it did. It pretty much fell apart as soon as they decided not to pay those guys to stay. And they went. I think Brizell went to the Raiders, right?
Yes, he
I
did.
don't think he had as much success there as he did here, obviously. And it just goes to show, like, you may be able to get the bag somewhere else, man, but in the NFL, the opportunities you have to win a Super Bowl are few and far between, man. And I
He left
wish
Houston and only lasted. Well, I mean, it's not that he did bad. He started 15 games for Oakland and
I just
15
mean team
games, and then
success.
he just stopped.
Yeah, team success though. Like the best chance he had to win a Super Bowl was continuing what they had going here. And I don't know. It's not my money. I
He
wanted,
also started late. He was 24 years old coming out
yeah,
into the league.
I wanted the Texans to keep that offensive line together. I wanted them to keep Brandon Brooks and or no, not Brandon. At the time, that was Mike Brizell. Who was on the other side?
Wade Smith.
Wade Smith. That's right. And then you had Eric Winston.
Outwin Brizell, and then came Brandon Brooks.
Brandon Brooks. That's right. And look, yeah, Brandon Brooks struggled his rookie season. I think his second season he struggled a little bit too, and then he kind of started putting it together right before it became time to. Because he was he a second round pick?
Who?
Brooks, or a first round pick?
I don't think it was a first. I'm not too sure.
I don't think it was a first, but I know. But before he became a free agent, I just think the Texans. I think the Texans. I don't think they had made plans to keep him, and then he blew up and had a really good year. And then he just became out of their price range. And maybe he just didn't want to be here. I don't know. But I would have loved for them to keep him too. The offensive line, like I said, the best chance this Texans team ever had to win a Super Bowl was when that offensive line was together. So, but for me, I'm not mad at your picks, but I would go ahead for the sake of, if you're putting together an all-time team, you can kind of shuffle people around. You know, we had to shuffle the cornerbacks around. I would start Dwayne Brown at right tackle and leave Laramie at left. And then that would be my all-time offensive line for the Texans, I guess. All right. Defensive tackles. This one's tough. Because we've had some names at defensive tackle, like Vince Wilfork. But Vince Wilfork was obviously well past his prime. Then we got the OGs, Gary Walker. Seth Payne. Shout out to Seth Payne, who is still in the city of H-Town, showing love to Texans fans. I'm going to go with, now his first name's escaping my mind. I hate this. Starts with an A. Smith.
Antonio Smith.
Antonio Smith. Thank you. Bro, my Alzheimer's is crazy. I'm sorry. Antonio Smith. And here's the thing. If we're doing a 3-4, then I can only do one tackle. But in a 4-3, I'm going to put Antonio Smith and Gary Walker. And in a 3-4, I'm going to put Sean Cody.
What about DJ Reader?
Ooh, I forgot about DJ Reader. Oh, snap. Yeah, I got to put him over Cody.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Sean Cody was a solid Texan and on a good Texans defense. But yeah, let's go DJ Reader. Well, really, I mean, DJ Reader was good here, but he really became great elsewhere, if you think about it.
No, he was good here.
He was good here.
He was great here.
He became great as a Bengal, though. Yeah, okay. If I'm playing 3-4, I'm putting DJ Reader in the middle. If I'm playing a 4-3, I'm going Antonio Smith and Gary Walker. That should be fair, right? Let's see. Any debates there? I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of great tackles on this team.
No.
We're still in search of a great tackle.
We've been cheeks most of our career, so.
Yeah, I think this team, this defense, is one great defensive tackle
away. Is this team over our record even at 500 yet?
What's that?
The Texans win-loss record? Like the overall
all time? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I haven't even looked that up, I think.
Let me see.
It should be close.
There are 162 wins, 1 tie, and 209 losses.
Ooh, so still under 500.
We got a ways to go, gentlemen.
Man, we had some. Look, man, after that first win, it was a lot of a lot of bad football.
And we got like 6 years worth of work.
Yeah,
7 years really, because we still got to catch up and then take the lead.
But we're still the babies of the NFL, man. I'm not trying to make excuses, but look, man. I mean, this is why I give D'Amico Ryan so much credit, because some of the more successful teams we've had were under Gary Kubiak, but Gary Kubiak didn't get to the playoffs for the first 6 years that he was the head coach. And tough. D'Amico Ryan's turned it around immediately. So look, man, the future of this team is bright. Like I said, I think if we do this same show 2-3 years from now, there's going to be a lot of players who are on this team right now they're gonna be on that all-time Texans conversation for
And I
sure.
think next year you could solidify CJ. You
Yeah,
could,
if he has another
yeah,
really good year, like we can both agree he's had one MVP caliber season,
yeah.
and then he's had another good, not great season.
Mhm. Will for sure.
Yeah, Will's close.
Derek Stingley, you already got him
Derek Stingley's
locked.
there. He's there. Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Who'd we leave out, man? Are there any honorable mentions that should be on this team that we left out?
hmm, I mean, Will Fuller. Shout out to Will Fuller.
Man, Will Fuller was
The
potential.
a
The
big what
potential.
if.
Yeah, big what if.
Um,
A lot of drops.
a lot of drops. Who else? I mean, Kalen Bullock. Really? I mean, hey, I mean, damn, Kamari Lassiter. Those two guys, they have an opportunity to just keep on adding.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I mean, hey, Christian Harris too. Who knows?
Yeah, man. Ooh. Christian Harris, I hope he can get healthy and get an opportunity to play and show us what he's capable of, man. Because we're talking about a defense that could be historically good if
Mm,
all of that falls in place the way it should be. But yeah, man, look, the franchise is still young, and I think we've had a hard time filling some of these positions, and that's probably why they're 162, 209, and 1.
yeah.
Because they're still they don't have the legacy of a lot of these other franchises, obviously, only being, around for 23 years, uh, going on 24. So for me, I think the Houston Texans, um, they get a lot of flack from some of our division rivals of never being to the AFC Championship game, blah 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 blah, and that's all fair criticism, man. But listen, I will say the Houston Texans over the past 20 years, save when Peyton Manning was with the Colts. Ever
Mhm.
since he left, this has been the Houston Texans division overall. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I mean, and the division hasn't been great, so that's not anything to really gloat about. But at the same time, if you're having the argument amongst your division comrades, the Houston Texans have been, if you want to call it, the class of this division, and I think they're going to continue to do that next season.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
so honorable mention for defensive tackle, though. I want to give Seth Payne some love just
Yeah.
because of what he does for the content creators in this city and what he does um, on X, on Twitter, on all of his social medias, man. He's still very engaged with the Houston Texans fan base. So I love that about him. So that was fun, man. I think some of the people who watch may disagree with some of the things we had to say, and I'm sure you guys will let us know in the comments. And we appreciate you guys watching on the ESPN Houston YouTube channel. I want to thank you guys for supporting the Twin Toros for 47 episodes.
Mm.
Doing episode 48. That's going to be what? Christian Harris episode? Easy. We'll try to find somebody else too. But in the meantime, I want to remind you guys to please follow Ruben at 713 Houston Sportscast on YouTube. He's 713 Houston Sports on X, 713 Sportscast on IG, 713 Houston Sportscast on TikTok. I will make sure all of his links are in the description. You can find me at Houston Sports State of the Union Podcast on YouTube, X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I will have all my links in the description as well. And we will be back with another episode of the Twin Toros next Tuesday at 7:30. Same bat time, same bat channel. Ruben, you want to give the people anything before we get out of here?
Yes. RIP to Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay.
Did that happen
5 days.
recently?
That happened 5 days ago.
Oh man, I gotta stay plugged into my
Dude.
stuff. Woo! I did not know he
Um,
passed away. I would have mentioned that up top.
Rest in peace to Jim Irsay, an electric individual.
He lived hard, bro.
He lived hard,
He made the
and
best of the years he had, I would say.
and hearing all the all the love that he got on just every platform, and when you saw Pat McAfee cry about him and just say how how giving he was as one of the wealthiest people on this earth. So
Mhm.
sounds like a great person and someone who lived hard, like we said. So RIP Jim Irsay, Indianapolis Colts family.
Yeah,
You
man, let
got
me
our
say this.
you got our
We talk a lot of trash to Colts, Titans, but at the end of the day, man,
no,
this is
but
a game.
Titans, it's up. It's up, dude.
Yeah, I have nothing nice to say about Bud Adams or
No.
his family. But what I will say is this: like at the end of the day, it's a game, it's football, and then when real life hits, man, you you got to take a step back and say, hey, man, regardless of how much you dislike Indy, their fans, whatever, like somebody passes away and somebody who did so much, like you said, for the community and had a little bit of controversy. I would call him, maybe he was like the Tony Stark of the NFL.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
But yeah, RIP to him. I wish I'd have known that. I'd have mentioned that up top. Lastly, if I may, man, I just want to wish a happy anniversary to my wife. Whitney, tomorrow we will be celebrating our 8th wedding anniversary.
Hey.
I was married once before, got divorced, and I told myself I was never going to get married again. I told my wife when I met her, I'm never getting married again. Here we are 8 years later and still doing the
I have another kid.
Oh, no, that's done. That's done. I'll probably be a grandpa in the next few years, unfortunately. So let me knock on something real quick. All right, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Twin Toros. Like I said, we'll see you next week. In the meantime, you know what we want you to do. Stay 10 toes down for the H. We love you. Good night.